Is this the UFC card equivalent of the 52 Mantle and the 86 Jordan Fleer? Today I'll discuss and speculate on why I think it could be. So let me start off with a few caveats. No MMA fighter has even come close to being as culturally relevant as Michael Jordan. As we all know, the sport of MMA and the organization of the UFC is relatively new, and the collecting history behind UFC cards is still in its infancy, with the first UFC cards being printed from Topps in 2009. But let's speculate and have some fun here and try and find out a UFC card equivalent of these two iconic cards. So the main reason I think that this 2009 Topps Round 2 Jon Jones First Auto is going to be the face of the UFC card sector is because I think Jon Jones is the GOAT. So let me go ahead and run down some of his accolades so that we can kind of better form a picture of why I think even after he retires, his cards are still going to be very sought after. He has the most title defenses of all time with 13. He has the third most consecutive title defenses with 8, but would technically be 13 except for a no contest that happened after the fight with Cormier. He's a multiple weight class champion, with him recently winning the heavyweight belt. He was a long-time light heavyweight champion. He's also the youngest champ ever at 23 years old. I think that's a very important stat, and I don't think that's going to get broken for a very long time. In today's mixed martial arts world, champions are usually around 29 to 30 years old. That's kind of when the athleticism and the skills kind of merge and peak. He's also kind of technically undefeated. He got a DQ for the 12-6 elbow, which is a silly rule in general, against Matt Hamill. But besides that, he has never lost in the UFC. And just to put this into perspective as far as longevity of his career goes, in 2011, he was one of the best fighters. And up until 6 months ago, he was the pound for pound #1 fighter in 2023. So he's had literally 12 years of dominance within the sport as a champion. Now let me clarify, with this card, there are more rare of 25 red ink parallels that if money is no option, that's what I would go get. But because, you know, those are extremely expensive, I went and got the normal auto that is going for around $1,000 today. So we've speculated that Jon could be the face of the UFC for years to come in the card collecting world. Now let's talk about this specific card and why visually, as a card and as art, I think it is a good design. Okay, so we've got the card here. We'll start just by the actual shot itself. I think it's a pretty good action shot. The face is visible. As the actual card design goes, it is pretty simple, but I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. You know, you got the visible name, decent action shot, autos here. It is a sticker auto, which, I mean, obviously that's not the best. With this being the first auto ever manufactured, you know, it definitely has a premium. I think the white and red color scheme works pretty well. It's not a color match with the auto. You know, the red ink that I talked about earlier of 25 would be the color match, and that is a beautiful card. But like I said, it is very expensive and definitely not in my budget right now at this moment. So we got the white and red with the PSA grade. This is a pretty sharp card. On the back here, we've got the red and white kind of theme continued with the UFC logo and the Topps here at the bottom. And another thing that I like about this is that it's a vertical card. And when you're displaying these in display cases and whatnot, you know, if the card is oriented like this with the image sideways, and then you put it in your display case to save space, so you can have more cards in there, it's going to be, you know, the image would be not necessarily as readable in the display case. But with this being a vertical card, it is a little bit more readable, and I think that's a good thing. But that's just kind of some of my thoughts and opinions on why the 2009 Round 2 Jon Jones First Auto is going to be one of the most sought after cards in the UFC card space. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, drop it a like, share it with a friend if you want. The UFC card community is still pretty small, and our channel, as you can tell, is still pretty small. So any support or love you want to give is much appreciated. Stay tuned for more UFC card content.